Hi guys, it's Odette again. I've got this square that I've actually run out of some yarn for, and instead of trying to go and get some more white yarn, I'm just going to cast off and have more of a rectangle than a square. I'm quite happy with this. Some of my squares are actually more rectangular because of the pattern that I've done. So I'm just going to show you now how you would cast off. So let's zoom in and get started. So again, you're just going to need your 2 needles and your continuing of yarn. And to cast off, what you're going to need to do is you're going to need to put your knitting needle through one of the hoops at the end. Wrap that yarn around your little finger to keep the excess out of the way. We're going to do it as if we're knitting a stitch and pulling it off. You're going to do the same for the second one. And then instead of going to the third one, we're going to pull that first stitch we did over the second one we did. Okay, so I'll show you that again. We're going to go on to the next one and knit it. And then you're going to pull that first one you had, which is actually the second stitch, over this third one. Okay, so it's starting to finish the end off here rather than it continuing to loop along. It's giving us an edge just like when we cast on at the bottom. It's going to look exactly the same at the top. So let me zoom in a little bit further for you guys. There we go. So I'm going to put this needle through this loop and we're going to knit it and slip it off, and then we're going to take this first one and pull it over this second one to give us a finish. So I'll show you that again, guys. You're going to put it through this, knit it as normal, then you're going to put your needle through the first one and pull it over the second one. So you just have one left on the needle. And as you can see, we're getting that nice finish on the end, just like what we have down here. We're getting the same on this top end. So I'll carry on going and show you guys what it looks like when I get to the end. Okay, so I haven't got to the end yet, but I knew I was going to run out of yarn before I got to the end. There's this tiny little piece left. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to get a piece of cream yarn out of my bag. So I'm just going to get a piece of cream yarn out of my knitting bag, and I'm just going to tie the end of this cream yarn onto the white yarn. So all I'm going to do is just tie it as close as I can to the end nearest the needle into a little knot. There probably is better ways to do this, but this is how I've always done it. So now I've just got a kind of almost a bow, I guess, where it's the white yarn here attached to my actual knitting, and you can see I've tried to pull this really tight to not lose out, and actually it's kind of made it go a funny shape, so if you just stretch it out it'll be fine eventually. So now what I'm going to do is just get my yarn and make sure these ends are at the back so they're not seen when I carry on knitting. I'm going to make sure it's right up close to the end here, closest to my knitting, wrap that cream yarn around my finger and carry on to the end. So keep those little ends out of the way. Now let me quickly zoom out so you guys can see how this is looking. Okay, and the last one. So you will still have one left on your needle at the end. And what I'm going to do is just pull that through so I get a bit of extra yarn. And I'm just going to cut. Now make sure you cut the end that's attached to this long bit. So you might want to cut this side to ensure that you're not cutting the bit that's actually attached to the knitting, to like your square or your scarf or anything. So I'm just going to cut a bit off here. And I'm just going to pull this all the way through that loop. And this is what I was saying, because I was trying to pull it so tight, you'll notice that it's now got that curve to it. Just keep stretching it out every now and again, and eventually it will, I promise you, eventually it will go to the same as this, but it will be a lot tighter than this bottom bit. You'll notice how much I can stretch this out in comparison to this bit. But once I sew both of these sides into my blanket that I'm making, it's not going to matter whether this bit's shorter or not, because they will end up fitting into the gap that I put them into, because some of my other squares, like I was saying, where I've done different patterns on them, some of them are slightly strange shaped. I tried to crochet some and I cannot crochet to save my life. I'm not the best knitter either, but I think I did pretty well being self-taught. I watched a tutorial on how to make these baubles, and I will probably do one for you eventually, guys, just when I get around to actually doing some more knitting. I've not done any for quite a while now, and I think this blanket has taken me nearly 3 years to make, so we'll get there eventually. It's got a bit of everyone from my family in it though. It's got my nan and my nan's best friend, which we class as an extra nan and an auntie. It's got a bit of my mum in it, a bit of another auntie in there, so it's got everyone in there, so it's going to mean a lot to me once I finally sew it all together. And I'm going to try and keep it nice and make sure that the dog doesn't get on it, because every blanket in this house belongs to the dog now. Thanks for watching, guys. Bye!